Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about The Farewell. This film, which is about a Chinese family who have learned that their grandmother or the matriarch of the family is very sick and is going to die of terminal lung cancer. And it is tradition in China not to tell the older person who is dying, to kind of let them live life, and the rest of the family knows and you don't tell them. And this one family who is living in America, their daughter Billy, who's kind of the main focus of the film, although it focuses on other family members, they are going to go back without her because they don't think that she can not tell the grandmother, but she decides to go anyway because she wants to spend the kind of last kind of days or weeks or whatever with her grandmother. It's an interesting film in that, as dramatic as that naturally is, as life is, it's sort of not. And I don't mean that in that the film doesn't work. It does work, but that's sort of what's so kind of great about it, because it's very slice of life. It's very hampered down. When I saw it with my wife, she actually commented that it reminded her more of a 90s kind of indie movie than a current one. And I do agree with that, because it's very slice of life. Like, if you like slice of life anime, oh boy, here you go, because this is just very, or any slice of life film, but I know that's a big thing for you guys, it's just so within its own kind of normalness. You know, I think they have a big dramatic scene that starts because someone's looking for an earring. And that's sort of like life, you know, you'll be helping your mom or your uncle with something, and then you bring up something and you have like this really deep conversation, and you're like, right, so Parmesan, is that what we were looking for? I feel like that was throughout this whole film, and it's kind of emotionally honest in a very ordinary way, and that's really universal about it, because as an American, and they bring up that it would be illegal to do what they do in this film, that is a tradition in that culture, would be illegal in America. But at the same time, from an American perspective, and I think for the perspective of this film, that the way it's getting people in, because I know this film is doing rather well, is it almost works as a conceptual film, the hook of it, but it never plays it as a conceptual film, because obviously it isn't, because to these people that's life, that's not a stupid concept movie. So I think I like concept movies, but you know what I'm saying. What I think is smart about it is it makes you understand the life and the reason for it, and the sort of beauty in it, but the conflict in that situation, the conflict in the idea of it. Because the idea of like standing next to a family member and knowing like you're not going to be around them ever again, and you have all these wonderful memories, and you can't tell them that they have a fleeting moment while they, you know, argue over something really stupid, and you're like, you know, you actually don't have that much time left, so maybe like let that go, but you can't do that. And there is a sense of emotion in that. There's high emotion, and they basically put together this sort of wedding so they can all have a reason to be there. This one kid and his girlfriend have been going out for like 3 months, so I don't know, maybe that'll last, you don't know, probably not though, although they seem like a cute couple, so maybe it's working out, I don't know. It's so ordinary in what it's doing, and I was kind of taken aback by that, because that's not very modern in terms of filmmaking. We're much more flashier and conceptual, and cinematography is not this sort of ordinary, but at the same time that makes it insanely relatable. It makes it very universal. You know, I know there's that idea that, you know, the more specific you make things, it actually makes them more universal, but I think in some ways the non-specificity of its cinematography makes it probably the most universal of all, because there's certain conversations where like her uncle's explaining this whole situation to her, which she already knows, but telling like the things he's done, and she keeps just saying like, I know, and it's like at first I was like, what, it's really boring, but I was like, yeah, but if I was with my uncle and we were walking in that same situation, I would probably just be going like, I know, and those kind of moments hit me harder, because I've lost all of my grandparents at this point, but during those moments, those funeral moments, you have those conversations where just, you know, them holding your bag and walking you to a car or something means a lot more than it would in any other context, because you both have been through something or are going through something major. and it feels very ordinary, and it doesn't really need to be stylized because there's so much swimming in your head. And The Farewell is so good at that. I really love that about it, because it's hard to do this kind of ordinary thing and have your characters play as well, especially the performance by Awkwafina, who I saw her in Crazy Rich Asians, and she was really good in that film. She's like the comedic sidekick, and I've seen her on other stuff, but this was a performance I wasn't expecting from her, and it shows a versatility and a strength to her as an actress that I didn't think she was going to be bad in this or anything like that, but I was surprised at how good she was. She really kind of surprised me. I honestly thought there'd be like more jokes in it, and there aren't really, and she's really good at doing that. Like she can be a dramatic actress. She semi reminds me of like someone like Tiffany Haddish could do more versatile stuff. She doesn't like ever anymore, but Awkwafina, it shows like she has a lot more options to her as an actress than I think we originally thought, and I hope she does more of that, because she was outstandingly good in this. I've always liked her quite a bit, but this makes me want to like be rooting for her even more. Everyone was really good in it, from the grandmother to her dad to her uncle, are all really good actors. To do this kind of slice of life thing, there has to be a humanity to you that's like important to that sort of performance that feels kind of ordinary and like, oh, anyone can do that. I've done that as a person, but it's different, and I think there's a real artistry to what they're doing. The director of this film actually lived this and did the story on This American Life, and you can tell she gets all the kind of normal specificity. I really like this film, but it is kind of an interesting film in that I find how it's done not very exciting, but I guess that's sort of the point. So I don't want to say like it's bad because of that or worse because of that. It's more just like, oh, I guess, that's the best way you should do it. So it was not a bad choice, really. It was a really smart choice, because that's what you want to be focusing on. You want to be focusing on the family, and even some things that are shreds of ideas that like kind of come up when you're with family. Like you'll be reminded of someone and it doesn't really go anywhere. The idea of her grandfather doesn't really connect to anything, but plays in a very like ordinary kind of stream of consciousness way. In fact, I think as much as it is kind of slice of life, it does play in that stream of consciousness way that people kind of act and are, which I found to be very kind of comforting and relatable in a way that I don't think a lot of people can do as seamlessly. It does feel like maybe they just like drop stuff, but I think there's like real reason for doing it. And it even plays like how those trips are. Like a big dramatic end is them like driving to the airport. That's not a spoiler, it's like them, like that's how those trips end usually. It just played in a very ordinary kind of a way, and I think that was a really wonderful way to do it. I get why people are really taken aback by this film, because the emotions of being in that situation are very much everywhere through this film, but it feels like, even though I haven't been in that specific situation, it feels like situations I've been in with family members before, and I really love that about The Farewell. I think it is a really strong film. It's probably one of the more stronger films that's very unshowy, which seems to be an interesting kind of thing. This and High Flying Bird are both two films I really like that are not maybe as cool, but are maybe so honest it really hurts in a way. It's so honest it makes you go, yeah, that is true, and kind of the hitting you with the facts in a way. But this hits you in the very relatable family. Like it feels like a lot of family gatherings I've been to, despite not eating that food and not ever having been to China and not growing up that way. It just, realizing that house you used to play in doesn't exist anymore, or isn't the way it used to be when you were a kid, and having to move on from that, I think is, there's a lot in this film that was really wonderful. And the way it was so kind of respectful in its restraint, and not in a way that I found boring, in a way that I found to be a really smart way to tackle this subject. And you can tell probably because the director lived this very story and is living this story, and kind of wanted to show the real kind of character of it, and the kind of normalcy of kind of going through what everyone has to go through, of losing a major family member, and that anticipation of what's going to happen when it does. So if you have seen The Farewell and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.